We are live. Good morning, everybody. How are you doing this beautiful Thursday morning? Hopefully well. I'm doing quite well. I have my beautiful little girl right here next to me. She's chilling in her little, I don't know what's called, skip and hop. That's what my wife was calling it. But yes, good morning. Good morning. I have a very special message for you guys. Every message that I write is special. But this one in particular is pretty special because it resonates a little bit more with me. So today's message is entitled The Transformative Power of Weakness in Faith, Meeting God in Our Moments of Doubt. So, what does it look like to come to God when your faith feels fractured and incomplete? How can you open yourself up to experience God's love even in the midst of doubt? In Mark chapter 9, verses 20 through 24, we meet a father standing at the edge of his strength, his heart breaking as he brings his son to Jesus. His boy is tormented by a spirit that seizes him, throwing him on the ground, convulsing him, throwing him into fire and into water. And this young boy had been suffering for years. The father had first brought his son to Jesus' disciples, hoping they could help. But they couldn't heal the boy. So now in desperation, he brings his last shreds of hope to Jesus himself. As the father pours out his plea, he admits something remarkable. He asks Jesus for healing, but he doesn't come with unshakable faith. In fact, his words are full of hesitation. He says, "If you can do anything, take pity on us and help us." This is not just a statement of bold. This is not a statement of bold, confident belief. It's the cry of a man whose faith has been battered and bruised. Jesus' response is equally bold. He says, "If you can, all things are possible." He says, "If you can, all things are possible to him who believes." It's at this moment that the Father, in a moment of raw honesty, says words that resonate deeply with, I believe, many of us. He says, "I believe, help my unbelief." This father's response is more than a confession. It's a cry from a heart willing to be honest about his need. He believes, yet he is aware of his limitations. He wants to trust fully, but he feels the weight of doubt pressing down on him. Yet still, he brings it all directly to Jesus. His fractured faith, his fears, his hope, his unbelief. Here we see a profound truth about the nature of faith. It doesn't have to be perfect to be real. God does not expect us to come with flawless belief or unshakable strength. Instead, he calls us to bring our honest selves, just as this father did, with a faith that may be fragile, but is willing to seek Jesus, God, nonetheless. That's right. Amen. Scripture is filled with stories of people meeting God in their weakest moments. Yet we often feel like we need to get it all together before we come to him. The Apostle Paul captures this paradox perfectly in 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 10. He writes, "When I am weak, then I am strong." Our weakness is where God's strength meets us. The Father's confession doesn't distance him from Jesus. Instead, it draws him closer. Instead, it draws him closer. When he says, "I believe, help my unbelief," he admits his inability to believe perfectly. And in that moment, he encounters the power of Jesus Christ. This is a theme we see throughout the Bible. God's power is made perfect in weakness. Our dependence on him is not just acceptable, it's essential. Faith, then, is not about achieving certainty. It's about surrendering control, opening ourselves to a God who works within our limits. What if this father's vulnerable confession is not just an isolated moment, but a model for how we as God's people should approach him? The story encourages us to bring our whole selves to God, our strengths and our weaknesses, our beliefs and our doubts. The Father's cry reminds us that God is not looking for those who have it all figured out. He's looking for those willing to trust Him even when they don't. The journey of faith often involves stepping out, not because we have no questions, but because we are willing to trust God with them. When we come to God with open hearts and acknowledge both our faith and unbelief, we invite His transformative power to work in us. In the end, this encounter reveals the sacred paradox of faith. Faith is not the absence of doubt. It's the willingness to trust God in the midst of it. It's the realization that God meets us not in our perfection, but in our surrender. We see this in the Father's words, "I believe, help my unbelief." This phrase captures the mystery of faith, a journey marked by both confidence and uncertainty, strength and weakness, hope and fear. The Father's cry becomes a prayer of hope for all of us. It reminds us that God accepts even the smallest flicker of belief and responds with grace, compassion, and transformative power. Faith is not a rigid stance, but a vulnerable journey, one marked by a God who holds us together, even when we feel divided within ourselves. So what does it look like to come to God when your faith feels fractured and incomplete? It looks like this Father's plea. Bringing our honest selves to Jesus with the confidence that He will meet us there. In every doubt, fear, and moment of weakness, let's remember that God's grace is more than sufficient. He's not waiting for perfection. He's ready to meet us in our need, to strengthen us in our weakness, and to guide us through the journey of faith. I believe, help my unbelief is a prayer that invites us to trust God with our whole selves. As we embrace this paradox, we discover a faith that goes beyond certainty, a faith that is humble, courageous, and constantly seeking the one who holds us, even in our doubt. Amen. I hope this message was encouraging to you guys. I pray that you guys have a blessed day and that you're able to just take this message and hopefully it resonates in your heart and you're able to even use it to encourage other people. But thank you guys so much, and we'll see you guys next time. All right, peace.